FM.
Welcome along to another episode of the podcast. We're now reaching the end of August, getting on to the last 4 months left of this series. And today I'm joined by former international bocce player William Hipwell. Welcome along, Will.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me on.
That's all right. Well, thank you very much for accepting the offer to come on. Okay. So, as I mentioned, you've recently retired from international bocce,
Yeah.
um, but you're still a national bocce player doing the rounds of.
E- yeah. I still plan to ca- carry on domestically uh, in bocce because I still enjoy the sport. My primary reason for retiring from international bocce was just due to the time commitments that is required for training and also for the competitions as well. Uh, because alongside Boccia, I also work full time as well. So it was getting a bit much because I was having to use all of my annual leave for the training camps and the competitions. And I found that I didn't have much time for myself to the other things that I enjoy as well. So um, the timing was about right for me, having joined the world class program about um, 10 years ago now, back in 2015. So I felt like um, I'd had a good uh, run in the program, so to speak. So I thought, that the time's about right to step aside and give someone else opportunities. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. I was going to touch on that later, but you've touched on it now. Um, yeah. So, and as you mentioned, you're a full-time IT technician.
Yes. Yeah. You've you've obviously done your research, so that's cool.
So they
Um,
have
so,
an IT technician for a charity helping disabled people get housing and jobs or accessible.
so I work for a disability charity called Papworth Trust,
Yeah.
and part of they they do various things to help people with disabilities. So one of their departments is they're a social landlord, so they have properties in the region, in primarily in the east of the East region. So they help people with disabilities to find homes and to live independently. And they also provide um, care support as well for people that need it. So some of their houses are adapted for people with disabilities, and yeah, that they also provide support workers to help uh, people live independently. And then other departments they work in, they run um, employment programs for people with disabilities to help them find employment opportunities and to help them access work. They also work with employers to promote um, sorry to to promote I don't know how to phrase it, to encourage them to uh, employ people with disabilities. I probably not phrase that right, but they I think the they want employers to not see it's basically to break down barriers, because I think some employers are put off by employing people with disabilities because they're not aware of their
They have
because
kind of adaptations. They need
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So they they help. So there's a scheme called Disability Confidence, um, and there are different levels that employers can um, join on that scheme. So um, they have a dedicated member of staff that goes around employers to try and encourage them to join the scheme and become a disability confident employer. Um, and the other thing they do is they run um, uh, they run in their some of their centres. They run day services for people with learning difficulties. Um, they come in and learn like life skills like baking. Uh, they play. They do things like karaoke, and they go on day trips and things like that. So um, there are many uh, different departments within the trust that do different things to help people with disabilities. And I work in what's called the enabling um, department. So obviously within IT, we work with um, the existing staff base within the trust. So I don't get too much exposure to um, the customers that use the services. My customers are more um, internal, so they already work for the trust. We do have some volunteers as well, but yeah. So my role is to help the staff members deliver the services by obviously making sure their laptops are working and they have all the software they need to deliver the services.
Of course. Um, we shall with the book stuff now. We've completed that section. So let's go back into your early years, your early years of your life. Um, what was it like? I mean, growing up. I mean, obviously you were born with cerebral palsy. That's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah,
So what was it?
yeah,
What was it like in your early days, Bill? If you can remember 30 years back.
yeah. So yeah, it was good. So like you say, I was born with cerebral palsy, so that I haven't known anything different other than where where I am now. So and um I went to nursery, I went to primary, secondary school, and I've always been um all of those were in mainstream education. So there weren't at school. I think there was me and one other wheelchair user or um, disabled person. I think, and then I think there were a couple more, but they were they weren't wheelchair users. Um, so yeah, I've always been in mainstream education, and yeah, I mean, I would say that I probably enjoyed secondary school more than primary school, but I think I remember going to secondary school and thinking, I remember thinking that uh, there was a lot more freedom because obviously at that stage you sort of moved about a bit for different lessons, and I quite liked that um, as a kind of um, plan for the day. So it's quite nice to move around to different classrooms and things. And actually, so during primary school, I always used a manual wheelchair, and I also used a cave walker as well, um, which I think, especially in kind of year five, year six, I probably used the cave walker more than my wheelchair. I was I did quite a lot of walking back then, so yeah, I remember using that quite a lot. And then when I moved to secondary school, because the campus was a lot bigger, so it was kind of decided that that would be a good time to start using a electric wheelchair just for speed of getting from A to B and things like that. So so yeah, um, and I also used in primary and secondary school. Also had a standing frame as well that I used for some lessons during some lessons. So they actually called it the pulpit because it was it was one of those where I was standing, but I was still able to. I had a desk on the front of it, so I could stand and do my work and stuff. So yeah, yeah,
Honest,
it was good.
yeah, honest, that sort of thing. And it was, for me, it always used to be in maths. Year seven, year eight, early sort of secondary school, I always had it in maths for some reason. And
Yeah,
and then in physio as well. But and then I just remember my legs being absolute pain. Standing up for an hour
yes,
lesson, So yeah.
yeah, because I remember there were several occasions at primary school where I was I was put out. Well, I say put in the. I was. It was willingly. Obviously, it wasn't. They weren't like. No one was bullying me or anything. But I remember standing in the frame for a whole lesson, and then for some reason, it. I was in the frame for longer than was originally planned. So by the time it was time for me to come out of it. My legs were in absolute agony. I couldn't wait to get out and sit down again. So
Exactly. Is it, well, I don't lose my legs much, but when my legs in pain, it's in pain. But
yeah,
actually, when I've seen you, I was in social. I mean, we should just clarify that we know from Boccia, obviously, but in social sessions, you do sometimes walk as well. Yeah, you still have those kind of walking. What do you call them? Self-standing frame.
yeah. Um, Not so much, but I can stand up to um transfer from. So for Boccia, I use a manual wheelchair, and um that is actually the chair that I use. I would say the most because I use it when I'm at home in my flat because it takes up less space than my electric wheelchair. But I also use it while I'm at work as well because um, I can park right outside my office. Um, and so it's not really too far to sort of push to get into the office. And I find that once I'm in the office as well, um, I find that I'm more maneuverable in the manual chair because we have quite a lot of IT equipment in the office, like old desktop machines and monitors and things like that. I don't know if have you ever seen the IT crowd
Yes.
on Channel 4?
Yeah.
Well, their office is very similar in terms of the amount of stuff that we have around.
Yeah.
Because I always watch it and think, yeah, that's kind of like, I mean, we don't work in a basement, but we we work in a kind of similar uh, space in terms of the amount of stuff that's around. And also at the moment we're deploying new laptops to the staff base. So um, that people are returning their old laptops to us. So we have piles of laptops around the place. So anyway, I digress, but I just find being in my manual chair, I can get under desks more easily, and the whole chair just takes up less space. And also, um, I like using it as well where I can because when I'm in it, I feel less disabled in a way because it's I don't feel as conspicuous in it. So with the electric, obviously there's a lot more to it in terms of the armrest and the controller and backrest and all things like that. And I just feel like I'm more
Able to use.
I don't yeah, I just don't feel as comfortable somehow sometimes when I'm in that chair because yeah, I just feel like people it the chair is more noticeable because sometimes I'm maybe you found this as well. Sometimes people see the chair before they see the person in it. And I feel that when I'm in my manual chair, because there's less of the chair, people are more likely to see me first before, you know. So that's like, but don't get me wrong, both chairs have their advantages because I wouldn't be completely without my electric chair because it gives me more independence if I want to go further afield. Like if I want to go into town or just go out with uh, friends, it gives me a bit more. I'm a bit more self-sufficient in it because I can go further without having people push me and things like that. And also the good thing about my electric chair as well is it's got the seat uh, rising feature, so um, I can lift the seat out, which I always find useful in social situations because it's nice sometimes to be on eye level with people rather than people having to kind of look down to make eye contact with you. So I find sometimes it's helpful to be able to look people in the eye on a sort of, on the same level kind of thing, you know. Whereas sometimes you're just looking up at people and it's a bit and also for if I'm going shopping for anything, like if I want to reach something off a higher shelf, I can uh, raise the seat up a bit more and reach whatever it is that I'm looking for. So yeah, both chairs have their um,
Pros.
pluses and minuses. Yeah, pros and cons. That's the word I was looking for here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can tell exactly what you're trying to say. Yeah, so and then after school, GCSE, you obviously did quite well. Did you go to sixth form, college, or straight to uni? What was the plan?
No, so I went to sixth form as well, and the sixth form I went to was attached to my secondary school. So um, I was in the same place geographically, but the sixth form was um, yeah, it was
Separate.
a
Yeah.
separate center. So yeah, I was there from obviously um, secondary school year 7 to year 11, and then I stayed on for sixth form. And then after that, I went to university. Um, I went to the University of Gloucestershire, which is in Cheltenham. So um, I that was the first time lived away from home. So that was something that I really enjoyed. Um, it was a I remember going on to I did A levels. I did um I wouldn't say I did that well, but um I was still able to go to university, and which was really good. So what I did at first, because my A levels weren't that great. So what I did, I first did a higher national diploma, because I didn't have enough points to go straight to degree level. So I started doing an HND, um, and then once I completed the HND, I topped it up to degree level. So I studied business IT, uh, which was kind of it was business with an IT kind of flavor. So it wasn't super technical, um, but it did also offer an opportunity to go on a work placement as well. So that added another year onto the course, but it was really valuable in terms of obviously getting um, real life work experience in a live setting, so to speak. Um, so that was really useful because it obviously meant that once I graduated, I already had experience of um, working, which obviously is very beneficial when applying for jobs. Um, so yeah, university was a fantastic part of my life. I I lived on campus, so it was really easy to. I was really close for lectures and seminars and things like that. So, and also a plus point for me was when I went to the open day to look around the campus, they had in the student union bar, they had a big screen that came down from the ceiling that projected um, football and things onto that. So that was a like selling point for me for the time. Just like, oh yes, I remember thinking this is the place because it was the campus was fantastic, and I was close to the town centre without being too close. So and yeah, it was a really good part of my life. So I I remember really enjoying obviously the social side of it, and also um, the course as well. Um, and it gave me my first taste of uh, living independently. So um, that was also something that I really really enjoyed. Um, so yeah, after graduation, um, I remember I had a few temporary roles, but once I found my first permanent role, um, I started saving for my own to um, uh, I started saving for a deposit for my own place. So um, I moved out in 2011. Uh, so I've been I've been living independently for quite a while now. So
I mean,
yeah,
I mean,
it's really good.
yeah, but I was trying to think back to 2011, that's like 14 years ago. So like, you're not that old, surely, because you still look like as if you're 20, Will. How dare
Oh,
you?
thank you. Thanks.
But before we get into work, let's go back to uni for a minute. Um,
Yeah.
One of our first questions is, was that the only uni you, was there a list of unis that you kind of maybe you wanted to go to and then you chose the university you wanted to go to, or was it your first choice? Just go for it.
Um, yeah, there was a I remember visiting quite a few universities. Um, so I think my I think the University of Gloucestershire was I think my first choice. Um, I also went to I also visited the University of um what was it called now? The I think it was Anglia Ruskin University.
Oh yeah,
Um,
those yeah.
it was the I think the campus was in Chelmsford. Um, I think uh, that was that was another course. Actually, that was a completely different course. I nearly went down a completely different route in terms of the course because the Anglia Ruskin course was, I think it was to do with leisure and tourism, which was another area that I'd done, um, that I'd studied in sixth form.
Oh,
So I just wanted to kind of keep my options open because at that point I didn't really know what I wanted to do
a
for.
lot of people say
Um,
that will, even when they get to university, they still say, I don't know what I want to do. Even though you've
yeah, yeah,
university,
yeah,
pick the course you want to do. And still,
yeah,
after that, they say, I've got no idea what I want to do.
yeah. Because I can relate to it because I kind of I would say I sort of fell into my um, current role because I went the work experience placement that I did whilst I was at university was on an IT help desk. So that was what I had experience in. Um, and so that's what kind of the route that I've gone down. But I did when I was at school, I always wanted to be I always wanted to go into acting. I wanted to be a actor in on TV or whatever. But I remember being put off it by the careers advisor at the time because she was. I remember she said to me, "Oh, it's not a very stable form of income because obviously you might be between roles for quite some time." So um, that was why because I remember I did for at GCSE I did GCSE drama and I did quite well in it. I got a B, I think, at GCSE drama. So I thought yes, this is what I want to do because I was also in whilst I was at school, I was in school productions um, for a number of years, and outside of school, I also went to theatre school as well. So that was a big kind of hobby of mine at the time. Um, and I remember at university, I joined the drama society, and but we only ever put on one, I think one or two productions because um, again it was I think the guy that started the group, he got because he put so much work in staging this production, and then he sort of, he's like, oh, I don't want to do another one because it was so much work. Um, so it kind of petered out. So I didn't really pursue it after that. Although, having said that, actually, in lockdown, I it was partly because I was kind of twiddling my thumbs at home because nothing was really happening at that point. I joined. No, I didn't. I registered for this for a casting agency that for extra work for um I think I saw something on Instagram or Facebook saying that they were recruiting for extras for did you have you ever seen the Netflix show Education? Um, they
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
some they
yes.
wanted extras for that show. So then I was said, oh, I could do that. Maybe they'll need a disabled person or
Oh, two
something.
series. Did you see that came out last year?
They did, actually. Yeah, they did
Yes.
because the last season, yeah, I
Yeah,
think
reboot, the
yeah
reboot
they
version.
had
Yeah.
yeah, um, but I don't know about you, but I would say the last series was actually the weakest series. I would say just because I think they were trying to tick too many boxes, because they were trying to include so many different characters, and I don't think it quite worked as well as the previous two. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure people
Yeah.
will be disagreeing with me, but
Well, we'll see. But I do agree with you actually because I think the original one with Jack Whitehall was, pretty good, and then when it brought it back, it was a bit because there's
yeah,
kind of there, and then Stephen and Mitchell were kind of like taken over as the main two characters a little bit. This is cool.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, you can never be an original. When they try and reboot it, when it doesn't really always work.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's go on a little bit. So you went off to uni. Was it 3 year course at uni?
Uh, I think with it was a year course, but with the work placement, that took it to 4 years.
Or
So yeah, yeah, it was fantastic. I met lots of different people because they I was in halls of residence as I mentioned before, um, and normally you're only in there for the first year,
yes,
but because um, so what they did was they put in some adaptations so that the I had the doors opened automatically. So I had a remote control that had the buttons for the different doors on the floor that I was living on. And so because of that, and obviously because I had a slightly bigger bathroom as well for so I could get my chair in. So the university gave me dispensation to just stay in that room for the entirety of my course. So sorry for the duration. Um, so that obviously meant that I met so many different people because the obviously the intake from the the
Year after you. Well,
yeah
and then you
the year after and then the year after that and then
yes.
so obviously I yeah I got to meet loads of different people and then obviously I the friends that I made in the first year I stayed in touch with and some of them I'm not in touch with now, but there are a few that I've maintained contact with. But I think that happens sometimes. You know
Yeah,
you leave uni and then you sort of go off
in your
in
own directions. I mean,
yeah
there's
different
plenty
directions.
of,
So
yeah,
yeah, so you don't stay in touch with everyone, but yeah, there's a few people from university that I'm still um, in touch with, so that's really good. And as I say, it actually university. I think it was a bit of a it was a learning curve as well, not just academically, but also from a from an independence point of view as well, because I realized that I was actually um, I could do a lot more for myself than I realized when I was living at home because um, my don't get me wrong, my parents always encouraged me to be as independent as possible, but um, in the nicest possible way, I kind of had to get away from them into
exactly.
and
Exactly.
don't misunderstand me and just I get on very well with my parents, but I
Yeah,
wanted to they
right.
but yeah, they encouraged it as well. So yeah, I just wanted to move away and figure out um and I was able to actually figure out for myself I could actually do like for example putting my socks on and things like that that I didn't actually realize that I could do until um until I moved to university. So it really helped me as well, just from a independence point of view. So
Of course.
it was
So I assume no PAs, no carers at all.
so at university I had a note taker um
Ah,
for lectures. So I had help in that way. And also during my first year, I had I had help with things like food shopping and things and helping with like laundry and like
yeah.
changing my bed and things like that. But then as in my kind of second and third year, um, I realized that actually I I can actually do a X, Y, and Z myself.
Yes.
So they the, the hours of support I had were sort of modified during my time at university because I actually realized I didn't need as quite as much help as I thought. So it was a moving
It was an
what do you call it?
it was a
Yeah, it was a yeah it was a yeah moving target kind of. That's not the phrase, but you know what I mean. It wasn't set in stone, so I could adapt. Obviously, depending on my um, circumstances. So yes, uh, I did have some support, but yeah, as time went on, I found that I didn't need quite as much help as I needed at the start. Um, and also, so now, obviously, now I'm working full time, uh, living independently. Um, the so I have a cleaner once a week who comes in to help with things like obviously um, cleaning because what whilst I I can clean it would take me a lot longer and um, they're
Oh,
obviously they're they do a much better job than I would be able to. So, and also they come in once a week and help with things like um, changing the bins over, um, changing my bed, and things like that. So, um, but apart from that, I'm very independent. I can drive as well, so I'm mobile as well. Um, and food shopping, I sometimes um, go to the local co-op and things like that just to get you know top up shops. But if I'm doing a big shop, um, I do that online and get it delivered because it's obviously a lot easier. Um,
of course. And you just put it to the door, you just take it rather than getting there,
yeah,
bags, and then having to somehow wheel it all back.
yeah, exactly. Because there's many a time I've gone into Tesco, you know, just for a pint of milk or something, and
Yeah.
then I come out with a whole basket full of things, and then I get to the car and I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to get all? So sometimes I borrow the basket, and so I put the basket on the passenger seat of my car, and then I drive home with the basket and then I, I get home and I put everything away, and then I'll put the basket back in the car, and then return it to said supermarket. So I'm not speeding. I'm just because you always see those signs, don't you, at the exit of the car park saying, "Don't take trolleys beyond this point," which
Trolleys,
yeah, is
not
fine.
baskets.
Yeah, but they don't say anything about baskets, do they? So I think it's fine, and
Mm.
I'm returning them, so
Yeah.
yeah, so it's okay.
Yeah, there's a special case wheel for you, isn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah. So let's move away from that now. We pretty much beat university to death at this point. Um
yeah.
so when that's part is well, Boccia. When did you start? Because obviously if you're all mainstream school, college, university, when did unit when did Boccia come in for you?
So that actually started. That was back in I was at primary school. Towards
Okay.
the end of primary school, um, I joined a after school sports club for people with disabilities. And boccia was one of the sports that was on offer. Um, so that was my first exposure to boccia, and I remember having. I remember it's a weird thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. So
Well,
they had this big um, they had a big tub of bocce balls.
hmm,
Um, I think they were Handy Life, but don't quote me on it. But they were pretty much, the starter kind of set that you get. But they had
Shiny
a
one. The shiny ones that bounce all over the place.
yeah, I think so.
Tough one.
But the
Yeah.
yeah, but the box had a very distinct smell, and I just remember it. It wasn't unpleasant. It was just, I think it was a combination of like leather and other things. Um, so yeah, that was my that was kind of my first exposure to the sport. Whilst I was at the sports club, I also played polybat as well, which
Great sport. That is.
yes, because no one's it's not like a lot of people haven't heard of it and they say, "Oh, what's polybath?" But the way I describe it, and you might be able to expand on it a bit for people who don't know it, but it's like table tennis but without the net. Um, so that was a really good fun, and yeah, I remember entering competitions for that as well. Um, but the what sort of brought that to an end, um, and didn't bring it to an end as such, but it sort of put the breakers on it a bit. Was the table got broken, so I remember having to play it with a someone who sort of made a quick fix on it. So it had like tape in the middle of the table, so the ball never actually it wasn't as good after that. Um, but yeah, and then
I
so
remember
then
sometimes just bounce off the table.
yeah,
You,
yeah,
because I've got so much strength, I hit it so hard that it flies off the table in the middle because
yeah,
it's not straight. When it goes off,
yes,
you
yeah,
get
yeah,
hit.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
good
And
time.
I don't remember many of the rules, but I remember when you served, the rule was that it had to hit the opposite side. Is that right? The opposite
Yeah,
side
you
of the
have to hit
table.
either side of the
Yeah,
eyes and then try and get it off the other side. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that was really good fun. So anyway, going back to bocce, um, that was that was my first experience of bocce, and then so I continued going to that sports club for quite a few years. I remember still I was at secondary school, and I was still going to it. And they also had a swimming club as well that was part of the same club. That was obviously on a different day. So I went to that as well. And then uh, they also ran every year. They did a Christmas um, trip as well, so a Christmas kind of outing. So we always went bowling, and then we went to the cinema and McDonald's and things like that. And also, so that was always really good fun. And I don't know if you may have been to one of these centres as well, but they ran in the summer holidays. They ran you could go on a trip to it was a outdoor activity centre. So I think it was called the Calvert Trust. I think they still exist. Um, but basically they did so you stayed in the um, you stayed in one of their centres, and it was kind of like it was just an activity holiday. So you do things like abseiling, rock climbing, horse riding, things like that. So that was really good. I remember my first one that I went on. I think I was about 10 or 11, maybe, and then I went on a few more of those trips after that. So that was really good fun. And then I didn't play once I left. um, once I left sixth form, um, and I went off to university, I didn't actually play boccia again for quite a number of years because um, the after school club that I went to, um, that that stopped because um, so the woman that ran it retired, and so um,
Yeah.
yeah, it stopped. So I didn't, and then whilst I was at university, obviously I was um, studying, and also I I had other interests like the drama society that I previously
Drama,
mentioned. Uh,
drinking, going out, having a lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then it was only after I graduated and I came back home, um, and I thought to myself, oh, I need a new I need another hobby, and it was actually, but I went to support one of my friends from university. He was competing at the nationals in Sheffield. Um, Back then, it was in Ponds Forge still. Um,
Yeah.
oh, was it in Ponds Forge? Anyway, um, I went along to support him. Um, and so I was just watching at that point because I hadn't got into boccia really at that point. So I was watching all the games being played, and that made me think, oh, I really want to play. So then when I got home, I found a local club in Cambridge, and then so I joined that club, and then I enjoyed it. I entered some uh, Boccia England regional competitions, and my first one actually was in Cheltenham, which is where I'd been to university. Anyway, and that was good fun because um, I always entered that regional because um, I always tied it in with seeing friends afterwards. So I'd go to the competition and then book the Monday off work. And then after the competition, I'd go drinking and things and meet up with friends who were still in the area.
Of course.
So obviously, this is obviously after the competition. I don't condone playing bocce with a hangover, but I mean,
I don't think anyone has, but if they have, oh my God, I can imagine that.
yeah, I
Um,
yeah, I would admit I've been to bocce training sessions feeling a bit worse where, but never for competition.
this,
I'm
this,
a
this wasn't when you're on on the program, was it, Will?
no, it wasn't surprisingly it wasn't. I mean I would say it improved my game a little bit more, but who knows? But yeah, I mean it's gotta be you gotta try these things, haven't you? So if anyone from um if anyone from Boccia UK are listening, I was this was outside of the program, so
All
so
right, that's fine then. That's fine then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Claire Morrison or Chris or Glenn Trainers would be quite pleased if you were out drinking and then he'll just come into a training session with sunglasses on going, everyone
Yeah,
quiet
yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah.
So
Sunglasses on
yeah.
with a
Um,
hat over my eyes. It's like, yeah, but yeah, no, it's yeah, it was all good fun.
so when did you sort of come back to book? So you did it when you were at our school clubs. You watched the fan do it, and then you wanted to get in it yourself. Was this
Yeah.
immediately after uni or was it like 2012, 2013?
Yeah, so this was after university, so it would have been around about, I would say probably uh 2011 maybe, 2012. Um I remember going, obviously I wasn't on the world class program at that point, but I remember going to London to watch the 2012 Olympics and Paralympics. But I didn't actually, I never actually managed to get Boccia tickets for London 2012 because I think, if I remember rightly, it was a lottery, kind of, you
Oh,
had
well,
to apply. You had to apply for tickets and then just
yes.
hope that you got ones that you wanted. So I remember going to a lot of the wheelchair basketball sessions, which actually was another sport that I um, used to uh, used to do. Um, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Um, but yeah, so I went to a lot of the basketball sessions, and then I went to I saw a lot of wheelchair tennis as well, and also goalball as well. That's a really good sport to watch.
Yep, the
Uh,
visually impaired. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, so that was really good. But I never got to the Boccia events in 2012. But that would have been around the time I was just kind of getting back into the sport. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah,
And you joined the well world class program, as it's
yeah,
called now. 2015, 10 years ago. That was
yeah, yeah. So that was. I remember going to. I remember I was driving home from work, and I got off a phone call, so I had to pull over to answer the call because I didn't have any hands-free. Yeah. So I stopped. I stopped at the side of the road, and it was Matt Kendrick. He
nice.
and he phoned me and he said, "Oh, hi, Will. I've been I've put your name forward for a GB Botcher, as they were known back then. Um, I've put your name forward to attend a GB Botcher induction, not induction, trial event.
Yeah.
Or is that the right word? I don't know.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, well, for me, it was Boccia UK Taste the Day for them to come.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we go there, normally Sheffield English Institute, and then they would see us play and then kind of see whether they wanted to take us on or not. That kind of thing.
yes, yeah. So that was it. So that was the day that I got invited to, and I remember my car was off the road at the time, and so I didn't have um, my own transport. Um, but I was still determined to go to this taster day. So it was actually my nan that gave me a lift to the taster event. So we went up to Sheffield, and I remember going to the event, and we were playing. We did some drills and things like that. I remember being really nervous about it. Um, and then we were playing. At the end, we were playing King of the Court. You know that? Have you ever played that where you play matches, you play like two end matches, I think it was,
Yeah.
and then if you won your match, you moved up a court, or something. So you moved, depending on whether you lost or won, you won or lost, you moved around the court. And
Okay.
I remember um I remember winning a few matches, and then I ended up on a court. I was playing against Claire Taggart. She was on the We were on the same induction day, um, and so and then so we by the end of it we were on a court together playing each other, and I remember that Boccia UK were filming our court. And so by that point, I was thinking, oh, this must be a good omen for that.
Yeah.
So, and after that day, it was um, it was a couple of weeks later. I got a call. I got another call from I think it was Glyn, who was he at the time he was the talent uh,
And an ID officer.
yeah, yes, that was it. I was going to say talent coach, but that's not the right term.
An ID.
Anyway, yeah, he was in charge of or he was the talent officer person. So I got a call, and I remember him saying, "Yes, we'd like to invite you onto the world class program." Um, so my first camp, I think, was uh, the BC1, BC2 team. They had a mini camp in at Bisham Abbey. So that was my first camp. And then I went to a full squad camp. I can't remember where that was. Um, but yeah, that's how it started. That was how my time on the program started. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I did it, it was 2019, sort of near the end of that year. Or was it 2018, 19, something like that. And at that point, I think you were there at my talent ID day that I went to because I remember
Okay.
Iffy, obviously. You had Steph, who had Claire and some other like people like Jasper was there on the talent
Yeah.
ID, and then a few other sort of UBs or people from Heathcote will be that kind of level. And
Yeah.
so, but back then it was well, Nigel probably retired by that point, didn't he? Nigel,
Yeah.
what's his last name?
Yeah.
Nigel.
Nigel Murray.
That's it. I was going to say Havers, but that's not right. But yeah, yeah, and then you had a few others since. But yeah, so moving on from that a little bit, you didn't manage to go to Rio, did you?
No, so unfortunately, I missed out on
You're close.
selection. I was, yeah, because I remember at the time. So when I first joined the program, I'll put my hands up and I'll say I wasn't completely I wasn't completely aware just how big a commitment being on the program was.
Yeah,
So obviously, I was still working. Um, I was working full time, so I wasn't. I'll say I wasn't putting in quite enough training hours as I should have been. So um, I remember I got the call from Claire Morrison at the time they were making selections for Rio, and she said, you know, I think this is Rio's come Rio's come a bit too soon for you was the phrase that she used. So, but that actually missing out on the selection for Rio actually gave me motivation, and said, so I thought to myself, right, I'm going to get my head down and sort myself out, my work life balance. I'm going to address things and
Yes.
actually start, start going to the gym a bit more often and and train hard. So when by the time the next Paralympics comes around, I'm in a stronger place, both physically and um, just from a work-life balance. So that actually, it was really easy to stay motivated during that time because I I definitely had this sense of right, I'm going to sort myself out and be ready for the next time around, and that mentality worked because obviously Tokyo was um, my I guess you could say big break, or you know that was when I actually got selected
You did.
for the Paralympics. So that was that that really helped. And also I would say when I first joined the program, obviously Smithy uh, was still on. He he was obviously well established on the program, and and,
He's
and
never
then
leaving. He's never leaving that program. He's going to stay
no no
if he
yeah,
isn't. So
and then you also had Nigel as well on the program, and people like uh, Josh Rowe, Martin Davis, and yeah, and but I remember in particular, um, Nigel was really helpful to me when I first started as well, because he, I remember he's got a really good way of coaching where he doesn't come. I'm not saying that other people were patronizing or anything, but they were. But Nigel has this really good way of getting points across that doesn't come across as you know like he's teaching you to suck eggs or whatever. It's I yeah, I just remember him being a really kind of helpful um voice when
that's
I
what
was
influence.
first.
Your,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That was really good.
yeah. I remember. So I think it was just after you got on the class program that I because it took me a long time to get from Heathcote, which is now national championships, if you like, and then
Yeah,
a long time to get out of that. It took me about 8 years to get from that to the B Cup, which is no national championship, the large, the bigger competition now. But I still refer it to be a cup anyway. And I started playing New Wheel a few times.
oh yeah, we did. Yeah, yeah,
And I always remember me being a slight bit better. And then at the last end, when I was all weary and a bit tired from playing, you would go in and beat me at the end.
uh, uh,
So
yeah. I think yeah. I remember we had some good matches. So
we did. Absolutely. And somehow you managed to just edge it every single time.
yeah,
But that's testament to your commitment and that your sort of willingness to go further. Which of course at the time I wasn't particularly um I didn't know at that time I wanted to get that far. And then
yeah, yeah,
obviously we then went on to the talent ID day and then I was on the sort of pathway for Paris.
yeah.
Before obviously 21, I kind of got knocked back, didn't I, from Obesity.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah,
Um, Anyway, less said about that, the better, really. But for you, Will, you were going on a taunted at train. You were gonna get to you were gonna get to Tokyo, and then COVID came and hit everyone on the arse. So
Yeah.
for you, you actually went back home, didn't you? And then because you lived on a farm or something, that your dad actually got you to make a grain. Uh,
Oh, yes. So I was still so at the time, my brother was so for for uh, for for some years my brother um uh lived with me because um he long story short, so he moved jobs. He was living down in Brighton, and then he got a new job in Cambridge, and so obviously needed a place to live. And I had a spare room, um, and so he rang me. I was actually in Florida on holiday at the time, and he rang me and he said, uh, could I move in with you? And so that's how that's like. So anyway, during COVID, he was living with me, so I was actually able to um, stay in my flat. It was actually really useful for Nick to be living with me at the time as well, because it obviously meant that I didn't have to, um, for food shopping and things, it was obviously easier for him to go out. Anyway, uh, back to your original question. So, um, because obviously all the leisure centres were closed, so my dad is a farmer, and he he had access to this big grain store. So he came up with the idea of marking out a boccia court. Um, so because part of the grain store was the it had a kind of concrete floor, so it was pretty much the ideal kind of surface for a bocce court. So he spent many hours mopping the floor and sort of cleaning it all up, so it was fit for play. So yeah, so during lockdown, I had access to this grain store court, so I was able to carry on training on a full size court, which um, obviously was very advantageous because um, other people obviously couldn't access a space that big.
yeah,
So I was still able to train on a full size court, which was yeah extremely beneficial.
you were very, very lucky. A lot of people
Yeah,
have space, many people don't have, the sort kind of resources in place to be able to do it.
yeah.
So
Um,
that was very good. Um, yeah, and then because obviously training at home isn't the same. You've got to keep your fitness levels up. You've got to keep your bottom balls in shape. You have to.
yeah, yeah,
How was training or communication via Zoom? Because I've heard a few stories from Louis, from Smithy, from a few others about maybe the cat might come into the picture, or maybe a dog might go past the camera, or maybe you're a bit
oh,
far away from the camera. And you couldn't really, it was a bit of a difficult thing to do, wasn't it?
yeah. So there were various kind of points where things like that would happen. And we also so Bob Smith, who was the strength and conditioning coach at the time, he ran these uh, rowing slash bike sessions. So there are a few of us who had either an exercise bike or a rowing machine or one of those hand cycle bike things.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Bob used to run, these sessions, spin sessions over Zoom. So or Google Meet or whatever. And I remember a few times where so I had access to this rowing machine that my dad lent me. So I had it in the hallway, and there were quite a few times where Bob would say to me, "Oh, you haven't quite got the camera at the right angle. You need to." So I would always have to sort of, play with the camera a bit to get it so he could see me, and because otherwise,
yeah. Can you see
you
me
could say,
now? Can you see
yeah,
me
yeah,
now?
yeah,
Can you?
yeah, yeah,
Let me just
because
move.
otherwise, I guess you could you could just say that you were. Oh yeah, you would say, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely joining in the session," but you could have the camera, sort of up so people couldn't see you. So anyway, so that was always good fun. And then you know there were occasions where my brother would come home in the middle of a spit, and I'd be on the road, so he'd sort of walk past the camera or whatever. So that was always yeah, that was fun.
Oh, hello, Bobby. All right. Oh, don't,
Yeah,
I'm just going past. Uh,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the what?
So
Most people during that time will probably say, "You're frozen again. You're on mute." All this.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
such fun.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
But he did actually get selected for Tokyo a bit a year later. Um,
yeah.
and it wasn't so much individual, was it? It was more team in pairs, wasn't it?
I yeah. So surprisingly, I not quite sure how I managed it, but I was I was a actually I did actually compete individually as well,
Oh,
although I wasn't expect it was a bit unexpected really, but my primary focus for that for the uh, uh, obviously the Tokyo Paralympics was um, to be to use to use the individuals to get ready for the team event. So
yeah,
for me, obviously being my first Paralympics, um, there wasn't any kind of expectation for me um,
to go far.
go go far in
Yeah,
the individuals. It was more of a case of obviously play your best and then make sure you're you know ready for the team competition. So, um, but obviously, I remember in the individuals. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't win any of my matches, but I remember there was um, for each game. I was happy with my performance. I know that sounds strange considering I lost, but the point is I put everything into it, so
it,
I don't have any regrets from that side. Um, I always I don't mind um, I don't mind losing as long as I've played my best.
yeah,
It's what I find frustrating is when I lose a match and I feel like I could have played
a bit better.
better.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was kind of my so going into the team event, um I didn't feel deflated or anything. I felt ready to, you know, help the team and go as far as we helped them to go as far as obviously we could. So yeah, it was a really good experience. The only downside obviously was uh, because of the COVID restrictions. We weren't allowed. Well, spectators weren't allowed to come and watch. So, and that was, I mean, um, had it been allowed, my parents would have come out to watch, but obviously they weren't allowed. But um, my sister attended as my sports assistant, so I did have. I was actually able to. There was a member of my family at the games, and then obviously my family at home. Obviously, we kept them. They kept on track of what was happening. Um, Obviously, Boccia doesn't quite get the same amount of coverage as
Yeah, it was a bit.
some of the other sports,
It was a bit
but
tricky
yeah,
because you had um at that point, I think it was one camera on one court, and then you could kind of see other courts in the background.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Channel 4 showed it, but not so much of it. But you could click
yeah,
the right button on Channel 4 and find whatever, but it was difficult. Um, but and then of course they showed David Smith's final, of course, at 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, a time difference.
yeah,
Getting up at 4 o'clock to watch you play, I mean they don't see you at all. So
yeah. I think well, I remember my colleagues at work. They said the only time they actually saw me on the coverage was while I when I was in the crowd for David Smith's final. So that was quite funny. But yeah,
mm, yeah, that was the only time you ever saw you, Will. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And the team consisted of you, David, Claire, and was there a sub? Was there someone else?
Uh, I don't think there was.
Who
I
was
think it
that?
was only the three of us. I'm
Oh,
racking my brains now. Oh, I don't think there was.
research. No, but I'm sure they'll come to us in a minute. But yeah, so there was four of you, obviously one to come in if needed. But I don't think you ever did change. You ever had a sub, did you? It was just
No.
all three of you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously you did worlds, you did, other big international competitions, not like Paralympic, but you did others, which was good experience. And then the supposedly 4 year cycle happens for other Paralympics. Obviously, this one was a 3 year cycle from Tokyo to Paris. So you had like a
Yeah.
3 year gap and you had to kind of like squeeze everything in, didn't you? You had to quite
Yeah.
a lot. And of course, being at work as well. Paris, I don't think I ever saw you in Paris. But you kind of like behind.
Yeah. I did I went out to support the team. Obviously, um missing out on selection. I didn't get to play, obviously, but I was there in a supportive capacity, which I actually really enjoyed. I didn't. I I enjoyed that role as a spectator.
Yeah.
Um, I found it quite nice because it was I didn't have to worry about the playing side of it. So it was quite exciting just to um, be there in a watching role. Um, so it was something that I really enjoyed actually. Um, so it was a good experience. Just not quite, obviously not quite what I wanted. Um, not quite. But I was still glad that I made I made the effort to support because um, obviously having been involved so heavily in the qualification for Paris, I didn't want to miss out on what happened at the games. It's kind of like watching a TV program and then missing the final episode.
Yeah,
Um, so I didn't. I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be part of the games. But obviously not from a playing point of view, but I still wanted to be supportive as well for and obviously Katie was selected ahead of me, and I really support that decision because at the time um, I was probably on a bit of a downward um, curve, and she was on the up, and yeah, so the selection was fully justified in my opinion, and I when I got the call from Greg Baker to say that unfortunately I hadn't been selected, my first thought was actually I want to congratulate Kaylee, and so I asked Greg. I said, "Can you let me know once you've spoken to her because I want to message her and say congratulations." But obviously, I didn't want to do that before he'd given her the news,
of
so
course.
I didn't want
Can you
to.
imagine?
Yeah, I didn't.
Congratulations for what?
Yeah, she just said, and then she said, "For what?" And then
Yeah,
so yeah, so yeah, it was as I say, the selection was fully justified in my opinion. So yeah,
of course. You're a real team player, aren't you?
I just feel I I want to be. I always want to be supportive. And don't get me wrong, I was disappointed not to be
Of
selected, but yeah, if I was, um, I always want to be supportive of my teammates. So yeah,
course. Yeah, because I saw the um the article when it was announced that you were stepping back from international boccia because I saw you 3 months ago, didn't I, at Coventry at the week or was it yeah, it was Coventry. And obviously you were there in the playing capacity for, nationals, just England-based competitions now, and it did really, really well. But when the article came out, it was obviously Hayley was mentioned and the rest of it, and then actually at that point, she's obviously married. Congratulations, by the way, Kaylee, pregnant.
yeah.
Um, so she
Congratulations.
kind of replaced you, and then she's now going off, and someone has to replace her. So it was kind of like, like Kaylee replacing you, and someone else had to replace Kaylee, and then you know
Yeah,
a bit of a switcheroo after,
yeah. Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
yeah, um, yeah, good timing. Yeah, and then so for the not getting selected, was that was that mainly because of the work? Obviously you mentioned at the start about your working life, and that probably, a bigger role to play in your time from international competitions. But was that like last year you were doing a lot more work, and obviously you couldn't get time off? Was that the reason why you didn't get selected, or were you just too
Uh,
busy?
yeah, so it was a combination of things really. So work has always been really supportive um of my boccia commitments. Um, but the the schedule for the team um in the build up and preparation for Paris was very extensive, and um, it would have required a lot of annual leave, additional annual leave, and possibly unpaid leave as well, um, for me to attend. Um, and I had I actually set up a meeting with between my employer and Boccia UK, just for them to try and gain, try and uh, let them have a bit more of a deeper understanding of
Yeah.
the commitments and things like that. And so, and that was all really positive.
Mm.
And I had also explored the possibility of taking a sabbatical from work, so I could focus full time on the boccia, and my training, it, so I could be in the best possible position going into the games. But having had discussions with work around that, um, and it would have the secondment route would have placed additional financial considerations onto my employer, because they would have obviously had to bring somebody else in to fill my role
Yeah.
while I was away. So that would have come at obviously cost to them,
Yeah.
and they yeah. So from a financial point of view, I didn't want to put my employer under additional uh, strain,
Of course.
and also from and also from looking at the bigger picture, I didn't want to put my job at risk, um, because one of the things that was worrying my line manager was that was the possibility of, let's say, hypothetically, he granted me the additional, all of the additional leave that would have been necessary. He was then worried that somebody above him would say, "Oh, hang on a minute, if you can manage without Will for this amount of time, why does why does his role need to exist in the within the IT team? Because you can you can clearly cope without him." So I didn't really want to um,
Yeah.
be in that position. So that was a factor, and also what I previously mentioned earlier about just having um, the time back as well, to do other things. So my other things I enjoy are things like going to see live comedy, and going to music gigs, and things like that. And obviously, being on the world class program, you don't always have that time
Yeah.
to
Have a
you
social life.
yeah, you have to miss out on quite a
Of
few
course.
other social things in order to be on the program. So I it had got to the point where I wanted to do other things as well. So when I wasn't selected, um, it was a mixture of um, obviously disappointment, but also in a way I was relieved
Yeah.
to some extent because I was what I was just worried about how I was going to fit in all the training
Yeah,
alongside my work as well. So it was definitely mixed emotions
of course,
when the announcement was made. So
of course. And I think, I've explained it fully. People will understand, and of course, but just, not a long career, is it? Like,
no,
you think of football, you retire when they're 35 or 40 or Cristiano Ronaldo. You've got,
yeah,
it's unless you've got sponsorship, which very few Paralympians are lucky to have.
yeah,
You have to take, yeah, you have to put your own hand in your pocket and fork out for some bits. Obviously, Boccia UK would pay for some, but not all of it. You have to sometimes.
yeah.
It's
Um,
all that added to it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is a support from also from UK support as well.
Yes.
So if you're on the world class program, you do get a support package as well. But it's when you first start, um, it's not uh, as big amount enough to.
No,
It's not really enough to
subscribe.
live on. So yeah, and also to get to that point, you do have to um, invest in the sport quite a bit. I mean, I was fortunate. I'm fortunate enough to be in full-time employment, so I do have some disposable income, so I can
Yeah,
go to competitions, but not everyone can afford to to do that. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah, because if you look at Olympics, obviously you've got sponsorship, you've got Adidas, Nike, all the other things that comes your way, and then the Paralympics kind of gets a bit overlooked in some ways. Like you do get the exposure, you do get this and that, but sadly it's not on the same scale as
yeah.
so.
It I would say it is getting better though.
It's getting
Um,
yeah,
they
yeah,
more and more people are aware of the Paralympics. I mean,
goodness.
you still get you still get people who put it under the same umbrella, so to speak, as because some people still say to me, "Oh, you're an Olympian," and I have to say, technically, no. I wasn't in the Olympics. And they say, "Oh, well, it's the same thing," and I was like, "No, it's not." But yeah, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, that's opening up a can of worms here.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't want to open. I want. That's a whole can of worms. But anyway, so
yeah.
yeah,
So yeah. You must be feeling pretty relaxed now. I mean, you seem, but you're still doing but you're still doing these sort of like national championships. This is three competitions to qualify. You could probably qualify quite easily in one competition, and then go to the finals in June, July, May, whenever it is every year, and then
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Whenever,
yeah,
yes.
pretty much of an easier, manageable scale for you, isn't it? Now,
Yeah, and definitely because the a lot though the beauty of it is the though a lot of the domestic competitions are held over weekends, so it's a lot easier to manage work and boccia. So I'm I feel a lot happier now
of
in
course,
terms of my um I've got I feel like I've got a good balance again, and I'd say that I'm enjoying boccia more now that I can play it on my own terms rather than, you know, going to competitions, uh, feeling um, feeling like maybe because I'm obliged to rather than necessarily wanting to
Yeah, you don't get to
play. So,
choose, what, you get selected and then that's it, you're in, you got
yeah,
to choose, can I do that one, can I do, you know, yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that makes it more enjoyable. I think.
of course,
Um,
yeah. Um, yeah, so that's all good and well. One last question before we end this probably 2 hour, 2 hour, podcast. But what tips or advice, would you give to somebody that has cerebral palsy? Sorry, what kind of cerebral palsy do you have? Spastic, trapezius? What's
uh, Off the top of my head, I'm actually not sure. I'd have to
oh,
I
they're
I'd
all the same.
yeah,
Um,
I'd have to look it up
no, it's
or
fine.
find out. So
What,
so
what tips or advice would you give to cerebral palsy people in general? Let's just say.
just I would say just I would encourage anyone to um, be as independent as possible, um, and also um, don't let your disability get in the way of doing the things that you want to do. Um, so, as growing up as a family, we never we never didn't do something of um, because of my disability. We always found another way or a way round things. So the most important thing I would say would be, you know, do the things you want to. Um, don't let your disability get in the way of things you want to do in life because you'll always find there's a way to do things. You might have to find your own way of um, achieving things, but don't let it get in the way of the goals that you want to achieve.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a great thing to finish off on. So, but thank you so much for giving up most of your time tonight, Will.
No worries.
Uh,
Thank you very much for having me on. I've really enjoyed
mm.
chatting to you. So thank you.
Of all the times I've known you, Will, I've never known you to be so chatty.
Yes, probably given you some a lot of editing to do. I apologize, but
No, it's all good. It's all good. I'll
yeah,
probably need to probably set up another call with you at some point and get more
yeah.
thoughts. But no, but thank you so much for coming on, Will. Much appreciated.
Th- Thank you for having me.
Voice. Let's go. Voice FM.